oh, to be serious, and others just, you're jumping. Please stop. But don't really stop if you don't want to. But no, really do stop. You have some history, but, don't if you don't want. But I have some history in this because I have experience, with pointing out Heidegger as a Nazi. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a summary of my experience there. I had read Nietzsche in high school. I always heard about Heidegger from high school and on and through college. And I read more and more essays, and sometimes in class I'd get exposed to it. Now, Nietzsche has this history of people, even still, like my father got his philosophy degree in the late 60s, and he still had this idea of Nietzsche, this one that they'd still had into the 60s, that he was a Nazi. He spoke out against anti-Semitism, broke up with his friend Wagner because of it. And yet he has a reputation of being a Nazi. They don't want to read him. Yeah, right, they didn't want to read him. That isn't why. Meanwhile, Heidegger, and I had read Heidegger, so before not knowing he was a Nazi, I'm reading these essays and things, I'm going like, this is like the idiot's guide to Nietzsche. And it's a ripoff, and he's doing things that are annoying to anybody that values any of the tools Nietzsche called being. Fuck you. And then I find out, a few years later, oh, he's a Nazi. What, huh? Nobody thought to mention that. I'm like, what the hell? And it's the same thing with Jung. Now, I've been reading just for an hour, a couple hours or something, but in his own words, he says anti-Semitic things and about Jewish psychology. Now, I've always thought Jung was better. I have this I Ching translation. It's great. I don't know if he translated it into German and then it was into English, whatever. But it's just the fucking I Ching, I Ching, whatever. But a lot of the things seem, they seem more attractive to me, the ideas. On the other hand, I've thought, some of the stuff, just hearing people describe it, it's like, yeah, I believe in archetypes. Dreams have meaning, but a lot of the times I'm kind of get the impression that there's just too sort of a concrete idea about it. And sure enough, with the Nazism, you could see that. Yeah, it's like, well, this really means you're going to start looking like an Indian if you live in America. But anyway, like things in a dream. A cigar is going to remind you of one person. It means their grandfather. The other person means their grandmother. Maybe the grandfather was still the one smoking them, but grandma was always picking them up. Or so. But I don't know because I haven't really read. But now what I've been reading tonight, it's like all his views. It's like his history with National Socialism was one of his compatibility with it was that he believed in this idea of a psychology of a national structure and of a sort of a psychological unity, and that the Jews were a nation without a nation that infected host nations. And he, and you're just reacting immediately like, no, because you kind of like him. And to me, this is the associational logic type thing. Like, I don't like what communists have done or communism, but I will tell you parts of Marx's analysis that I find interesting or even cogent. Now, associationally, you can't do that sort of thing because then you get associated with Marx and then you're a communist. But I don't care. I reject associational thinking. And it goes in the other direction here. It's like, oh, you kind of like his ideas. Well, you can pull those ideas out. You don't need to defend this idiot being a Nazi. The only defense, it's like Jung was a Nazi. I found that out already. That he was a Nazi. Heidegger was a Nazi. The only question is, well, does that really matter? And yeah, it fucking really matters. Okay, to me. And you can't just play with the facts because it's like, well, but I like his ideas. It's like, hey, we're medical doctors that did cruel experiments, and we go ahead and say, well, we know what they learned now, and we shouldn't learn things that way, but now we know it. But you don't go, and therefore the doctor wasn't a Nazi. I mean, no. I've read enough tonight to find him very, very, very objectionable on the totally wrong side of one of the most defining questions in the history of mankind, at least in the currently recollected history of mankind. I mean, there's just I don't have to. There's absolutely no motivation for me to justify. The ideas and whatever bits of truth are out there, they're out there. He doesn't need to be defended as not a Nazi because of that. And I can't see any other reason other than the associations of, it's like somebody that is an analyst and puts on their door, Jungian analyst. Well, he has a vested interest in not, and not allowing this association with Nazism. Because he's not a Nazi. It's a practical interest out of his own self-interest of making a living. It's also, a legitimate self-interest. His clients are not being trained to be Nazis, so why should he put? And yet, I've read some essays tonight from Jungian psychologists going, well, here's where we have to break away with him, because here's where his philosophy of psychology really was nationalistic, and that really does have a fundamental link. It doesn't mean you give up all the tools or all of the little ideas or things he might have figured out. There might even be some characterizations of certain groups that just look stupid to us, but maybe, there was some sense to them, or the people he knew, or the subgroup, or whatever. You can redeem and grab whatever you want out of the trash, but it's looking like trash.